So about a month ago, it kind of was leaked and it kind of became a potential speculation that Twitch was going to eventually start using streamers' content on the platform to train generative AI content models for Amazon. And this made a lot of people unhappy about the time of even the prospect of this being a thing. And I guess it also made people at Twitch very unhappy about the prospect of doing this because there was reports that they were actually like threatening some sort of mutiny for the workers at Twitch. And obviously, a lot of people were mad, but there was little to no communication, effectively no communication at all from Twitch about this potentially being a thing until today. And the communication that we got was that they did implement this change and that it was something that you had to opt out of, which was something that was suspected. And it's not even like this opt out feature is really easy to find. It's not like it's an easy thing to locate. It is very hidden. It is very hard to see. And it basically, you have to find it by going to the settings page and then going to security and privacy and then scrolling all the way down here to turn it off. And as you can see, I've opted out of it because I do not want my content to be used for creating generative AI models at Twitch or I mean, at Amazon. Sorry, I guess Twitch is kind of doing it. And obviously, this is not surprising. I kind of said this in the video I made a month ago about this, basically saying that it is likely pressure from Amazon to Twitch to kind of put this feature in, and it is simply because I think Amazon is an owner or it owns Twitch. Amazon does own Twitch, and because of that, I think Twitch really didn't have a say. But I think a really interesting thing about the description of this is that they also kind of include this little description right here where it says like it does not turn off your channel for other stuff such as AI supported Twitch features that benefit the community by facilitating streamer growth, monetization, viewer discovery, and community safety. And I think an issue with the way they kind of phrased it here, it kind of makes it seem like this is also generative AI content. I think this is more just like algorithmic stuff that kind of has already been the platform since its like inception. And that might be or conception, whatever. It might be of already stuff in place that like we know as like algorithms or discovery algorithms. But I feel like potentially putting these two things together may make people sort of connect these two ideas as both of them being generative AI and getting them mad about all the other stuff that Twitch does that is just algorithmic more than it is LLMs and generative AI content. I thought that was something to know. Maybe I'm entirely wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I kind of feel like this was a stupid decision to put these two things together. But maybe they thought this would be a good way to be like, hey, we're being entirely transparent here about this stuff and that we don't want your content to be used in a negative way. But I also kind of went through the statement that they put out basically saying like, oh, what is going on and like what kind of counts in the opting out. And so it kind of just looks at it right here where if you opt out and decide to not allow your channel content to train generative AI content models, your streams, VODs, clips, stream chats, and pictures and text on your channel will not be used in future training of a model developed by Amazon for purposes to generate or synthesize text, audio, images, or video. And then it also just kind of repeats what it says in the description. But this is a very interesting thing to notice and a very interesting thing to keep track of because it's not just the content that the streamer themselves produce, like the streams, VODs, clips, but also the stream chats. And this is a very big thing because what I understand and what I think is, at least from what I understand, the way this is being described is let's say I opt out. I have opted out from my streams and VODs and clips being used to or to be training a generative AI model. But does that mean that if I were to go into someone's channel who does not have this opted out feature or has not opted out of this thing that Twitch is doing, does that mean that my chats in their channel are going to be used to train models, even though I've once again opted out? How is it considered? Is stream chats any stream chat that I make, or is it specifically chats in my stream that are being used? Because I think that's a big thing that makes it so that so many more people have to be aware of this being a thing. Because that means that so many people who have actually opted out of it themselves still can have whatever they post online be used to create or to train these generative AI models because their stream chats in a different chat other than theirs still potentially may be considered to be, I guess, allowed in this idea of opting out because they have because the streamer who they're chatting in the chat of has not opted out. I think that is something that 100% needs to be clarified. And if not, and if it is what I'm thinking, where my chat and someone else's chat can still be trained even if I have opted out, is a legitimately massive issue. And I think this is a very big issue that so many more streamers need to be aware of this, which I'm assuming a lot of them already are, but a lot more need to be aware of just like the potential effect it can have on people who don't even want their stuff to be trained because they can have random people who've once again opted out still have whatever they post online to be trained in. And it makes it honestly possible for it to kill interactions with people's Twitch chats because people are afraid of their Twitch chats being used to train AI models. And I talked about this too in the video that I made a month ago about my speculation about why Twitch or why Amazon is doing this. And I kind of had like a nihilistic view of it. And I kind of still have a nihilistic view of it, especially just because stream chats are being used in like this kind of funky ass way. But I do genuinely think one of the potential end goals for Twitch here and this creation of these or using streams to kind of train AI generative AI content models is to try and replace some streamers or try and I guess cut costs when it comes to having to pay out streamers because I think my idea behind this and the philosophy behind Amazon if they were to try to do this would basically be hey we can run these AI generated streamers because we've trained off of people's face cams, we've trained off of people's voices, we've trained off of people's gaming, we've trained off people's like streams, just chatting, crafting, whatever the hell they do. And if we make a streamer who is like kind of passable as like a breathing human being, or we just have like an AI generated content model that can kind of just like entertain people for 2 hours, we can still run ads on that content and we can still get ad revenue from that and also potentially get subscriptions to that channel. But at the same time we don't have to pay out anyone because it's an AI instead of a living, breathing human being. And so I think that might be a potential idea for Twitch to do this is that they can kind of just push for a bunch of AI generated streamers that they don't have to actually pay out while still making money for. And also something just kind of popped in my brain and something that I also think it might be a genuine issue, specifically about the stream chats, is does that, and it probably does, include the emotes that people are using. Because if you think about it, a lot of people use emote artists that they actually commission and use that person's art for their emotes. That is also another pretty massive issue. Is will these generative AI models who use the stream chats also sort of take advantage of the or like steal basically it is stealing. Will they steal these emotes that these emote artists have been paid to do? Because that is effectively stealing their work because Twitch did not pay for it. And at the same time, I guess they could argue that saying like, oh, if you're still opt in and like, yes, that's fine. But I still, once again, feel like that's a massive issue that needs to be addressed. And especially once again, for the same thing I just mentioned earlier, where if I at some point commission an emote artist and I have their emotes that I used that, a human being made, and let's say I happen to send one of these emotes in a different person's chat who happens to not be opted out, could that emote a artist made that probably does not consent to their art being used to train AI, then have that emote be trained by these generative AI content models because that streamer I sent that emote in has not opted out. This is like another massive issue about just art stealing and stealing art in general, which is what a lot of these generative content LLMs do is they steal people's work because they cannot create on their own. They literally just pattern and recognize a bunch of just art in the past and then steal it and then spit out whatever the fuck they're being told to do. And I think that's another thing that we also have that needs to be clarified on how this works and if the actual emotes are doing it. Because those are stream chats. Those are legitimate stream chats. I also do know that some people have like their stream emotes pop up on the screen too. When like people are chatting and they kind of fly out, or even if they're in the chat box as well, these emotes can be stolen. And so what is going to happen here? I feel like this is just a very bad thing that just people have to opt out on because there's just so much uncertainty about what it's actually being used for, what the end goal for Amazon is here, and just if how what opting out means for you and like how widespread is it? Is it exclusive where your Twitch chat will literally never be used? Like stuff you send will literally never be used in training AI models? Or is it only specifically stuff encapsulated entirely in your channel? And if you go to somewhere else, there's a potential risk of your stuff being used to generate AI models. I think that just makes it so much more confusing and it makes so much less sense. And I genuinely do think that it might just like make it so that engagement on the platform is so much less. There's so much less Twitch chats because people are afraid of their Twitch chats being used to train an AI model. And this is a double issue because Twitch has also changed the way it kind of recognizes bots. So sometimes if people lurk, they're not counted as viewers, and as a result, someone's viewer count may go down. And as a result, maybe they have sponsorships that rely on viewer counts. They get less money because an actual legitimate human being who's afraid to type into the chat gets recognized as a bot because they don't want to have their chat be used to train a generative AI model, and it's harming streamers overall. This just seems like an absolute masterful clusterfuck that has so many questions and so much ambiguity and very just little clarification overall from Twitch that is especially even worse because this is a feature that so many people were mad about and so many people just saying, yeah, I'm immediately opting out and just nobody's happy about it. It just seems like a very stupid way that to implement this, and it seems like a stupid thing overall. But once again, don't even think Twitch had a say in this. I think Amazon just kind of stiff-armed them into doing it because once again, there were also people who were working at Twitch who were mad about it, So at least there are some people at Twitch who have like legitimate brains who can think that, hey, this might be a thing that a lot of people get mad about. I don't really know. This kind of just turned into a rant at the end on the top of a soapbox, but I feel like this just kind of needs to be said that there are legitimately so many issues with this implementation and every single facet of it. It's just insane that this is like this ambiguous and this just uncertain that no one really knows what's going on, even when they didn't even want to implement it in the first place. That's just kind of what we got to like look at here. Just saying this is a fucking mess, and I don't think it will get solved anytime soon, unless the air bubble just pops and people fucking start popping champagne in celebration of it happening. I don't really know. That's kind of it. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because it is a very annoying thing to just see get implemented. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.